This is the last night of winter. Tomorrow is the spring. A new season. And always the new season of spring takes us into Aries. Right? It takes us into the I am. That's the Aries. And you have to be careful with the I am. The other word for careful is conscious. If you keep saying, I am anxious, you are not anxious. You are the I am. Anxiety is a temporary emotional state. So be careful of your I am going into spring as we take this last night of winter, the last night of the long lie, the long deep sleeps. A change in our diet, a change in our outlook. Spring has sprung. The renewal process. The death of winter is behind us. And then renewal of spring has sprung. But just like seasons, we sometimes want to bring the death into the spring. Just like we want to drag old aspects into our life now. And that's when you have to have your spiritual tools to stay in the present. But the present isn't just one thing. The present is the past, the present, and the future, all happening simultaneously. Just like in nature, spring is all the accumulations of spring that has developed the fauna. All of your springs of 2025 are all the springs in your life that developed you, nurtured you, crushed you, that made you resilient and strong. And also the future, being present. Because you can only choose joy in the future from being fully present and fully present with the past. Because sometimes pasts will choose a future out of fear. Just as sometimes the present will choose a future out of fear or anxiety. Because there's a million possibilities of future. But which one are you leaning into? Which one are you gravitating to? Which future? The spring has sprung. I was thinking today where in the winter, right? In the winter of a president's assassination, JFK, and the dropping of the files, which actually were supposed to be opened in 2017. And how my own family all knew where they were on that day. My dad was a teen. And we discussed if that information had been out then in the 60s, would people have been able to process it? What would have happened? They needed a spokesperson like Cronkite to tell them the news. It was all filtered. And then there was the Oliver Stone movie that brought things into question. So through the movies, it started the dialogue, preparing us for the truth. So really think about the things that you're learning now in these files. When we really understand consciousness and expanding our consciousness is really being able to handle truths that are sometimes mind-bending, mind-blowing, unsavory. And how does that translate into our lives when, say, someone who's a friend betrays you? Are you relieved that finally you know? Finally you can stop, wasting time? Everything makes sense now? Or do you get shut down and agitated and rageful and angry? Like that's the microcosm of consciousness. Magic like that one. You say, yes. So when you go into spring, and I'll see you at noon tomorrow for our energy session, which will be very grounding and rooting. Rooting you in energy, which is reality. Right? That's what energy is. It's everything you can see. But what can you see? Where is your leaning? Because sometimes we're all in different realities. We don't see things the same way. Some people see things differently completely. I know people who are musicians that see music. So we have to really decide going into this spring consciously Am I going to expand my consciousness to be able to handle, have a greater bandwidth to navigate life, navigate the world? Because when things are out of your control, you know, and things aren't going your way in the reality of the world, then you really have to work on your consciousness to be able to live in life's terms. Or you'll just constantly be short-circuiting, shutting down, eating, drinking, checking out, not being able to cope with life. So the spring is here. And it asks us to expand our I am. That's Aries. I am. I am that I am. So if you can do one thing this spring, try and cease identifying as an emotion. I am anxious. I am turbulent. I am overwhelmed. I am. Because you're a lot more than that. And possibly expanding how you can bring new I ams into your life. I'm the best version I can be right now. I'm expanding my bandwidth. I'm joy. I enjoy just being. I am going to allow myself to just be more of myself that I haven't discovered yet. I'm germinating. Just be in the flow of nature. It's the change of season. Know that maybe if you've been feeling fatigued, that's the winter. You're allowed to feel that you want to sleep longer. But now we're coming into spring. of maybe getting up a little earlier, changing your routines, maybe changing if you have a yoga practice or a workout practice, or even your meditation practice, of just being in alignment with nature. Nature's not forcing anything. You know, the seed's not in the ground coming out being like, I was so anxious when I came out the earth. It was like unbelievable. And then it just happened. And then I got overwhelmed for a minute, you know. It just goes with it. With the flow of it. But then you have to recognize, as things start to flow to you and things start to happen, how you start to sabotage and create chaos and triage your life. Everything's inside out and backwards. So I look forward to a very fun spring with you all. We've all sprung forward now in the US. Europe still has to do that. I think it's the end of the month, which is interesting that they're doing it post-spring. They also have Mother's Day at the end of the month. So change up some of your routines, some of your food, some of your diet. Get out walking. Keep that cortisol low. Change some things up. And just be. But yeah, it's interesting that the JFK files are dropping now. Because seemingly we can handle the truth. We had to create movies by Oliver Stone to understand people's envy, jealousy of someone. The jostling of positions. But seemingly we're in transparency now. But then, in another 50 years, they'll look back at us and say, wow, they had no idea. So we can't get too arrogant, thinking we're all little know-it-alls. Because there will be things that they'll say. I wonder what they'll say in 50 years about our time. Can you imagine? Like they do about the 80s, 90s, like they used to smoke in buses and planes. What will they say in 50 years? Wow, they gave social media to their kids. Kids all had iPads. What will they say? Yeah, can you believe all that sugar that they had in things that they hid? You know, you look back to the 60s and doctors were smoking. Doctors are telling people to smoke. They were endorsing it. What will they say about our time? I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they let their kids do that. makes us think what we're not ready for. What are we not ready for? But I think we have this notion that because people are, you know, the president and JFK, and that people are above having the pettiness, that people aren't jealous at that level. Oh no, it's a different kind of envy. It's a different kind of jealousy. It's the kind of jealousy and envy that people will murder over. Just because people have power and success doesn't mean that they don't pick up on the slights and the jealousy and the betrayals. It just becomes much more Machiavellian, much more sophisticated, better poker face. I know some of you on this live know what I'm talking about. But then you have to grow up and understand your bandwidth. You have to grow up. And rather than being disappointed at things and people and situations, just being like, oh, I'm maturing, I'm growing up, I can see it. I can see things for what they are. Right? That's why people come to me. Because they want to know what's going down. They want to know what the truth is. They want to know what I'm picking up on. Like, I'm not thinking the worst. I'm just accessing what is. As neutrally as I can. And then having to translate it. So the spring has sprung. Life moves on. Right? Just like here in Los Angeles. Finding out all the money that's for the relief is being stolen and all sorts of stuff. Like, we're surprised, you know, that those in power are doing terrible things with relief money. No, we are growing up to know. And correct things. The walls are moving in on those things that have been allowed to function. And sometimes not even in the dark recesses, right in front of our noses. The last place we would look, right? That's what the Sufis say, right? About the treasure within. Put it in the last place they'll look, inside of themselves. So I'm glad to spend the last of the winter night with you. And I look forward to lots of spring, lots of renewal, having the light shining on. He's making a fight. Come on, come on. I don't know what that was. That was funny. You're so funny. He's like giving me the side eye. What? He's like, tell them there's going to be a lot of magic. Isn't that right, magic? There's going to be so much magic. in the spring. Isn't that right? Whatever that means to you, what is magical to you? What does magic mean to you? What is that? Things appearing, things lining up, having ideas drop in. What is it? What is magic? I think us even being here, living on a planet, rotating a sun in the middle of nowhere, in the nothingness of space, it's kind of magical. Us here tonight on this platform that was for photographers doing lives that used to be on weird little platforms called Periscope. Just so convenient now on this. Right? It's kind of a form of magic that we all get to communicate and see each other's lives and stay in contact. But also there is nothing quite like human contact, human energy. So I would suggest that you go to the movies, like to theaters, with other people, gasping and laughing together, and go to, you know, dance parties. Hey, DJ Valencia is on here. Dance, go to shows. There's a sing-along in Hollywood happening, I think for Wicked. Go do some group things, you know, that is not always online. Online is fantastic, but it's great to get out and be in nature and go out, jump on a horse, do something, and go and enjoy your life. Because things are, you know, you have to have a rudder in the water for this next year. Because everybody wants to be pulling at you to be outraged and be this and to be that. And it's exhausting sometimes. And the online outrage, the online outrage, the online stuff isn't really the world. The physical world. You know, you can get it into your head that it's just dreadful out there if you were just online all the time. And then you meet the nicest people, the kindest people who hold doors for you, let you out in traffic, all sorts of, you know, little nice things that are the little joys that add up. So yeah, go have some picnics, go do stuff, and write your own narrative. Because there's a lot of fear-mongering. And I'll give you an example of it. You know, when people send me messages of something that was found in medicine, and, you know, and this is the percentage and this is what it could be, pass it around. That's the last thing I'm gonna do. And I'll give you an example of that. You know, I'm going to do a series of videos in the spring about menopause. And from my perspective, energetically working with practice. And it will be a space for people that, you know, want to know that. And I won't be giving advice on HRT because I decided not to use it. Now, if you use it and it's fantastic for you, that's great, because your actual belief in something also creates the outcome. If you're afraid of it, that will also create the outcome. If you're hesitant, it will also create the outcome. So I want to create a space where we can have a conversation about energetically what it is, what you can do, what I've done, what's been useful for me, without demonizing and telling everybody else what they're doing is wrong. And if you take a smattering of what I'm doing and put it into your life, and you might even not be going through menopause, but you have a hormone imbalance and you're 32, or you have fertility issues and you're 28, great. But this is what's working for me, being in my mid-50s. Yeah. My joints don't creak. I work out virtually every day. I hike, I walk. And it's really interesting. You know, you can party all you like in your 20s and your 30s, but when you're still partying like you're 25 and your 40s, it starts to dip into your ojas, and your ojas are your reserves of energy. Kind of like when you get burnout at work, right? When you start to go into not your energy, but your reserves of energy. Your reserves of energy are there for when you become sick and you dip into your reserves. So if you're dipping into your reserves and you're not sick, but you're using them for life, then that is all your autoimmune and central nervous system disorders. And how do we increase our reserves of energy? By not getting frazzled, having jobs that enrich us, doing work that illuminates us, being around people that enrich our souls, having tools and practices. And I would say the most important thing that I've been doing for the last 25 years is captaining my own ship. Of what I wanted to bring in. You know, people ridiculed me 25 years ago when I went into this work. Oh, she's went into something called the consciousness. Like, oh my God, I think she's taking drugs. Right. But the thing is, I didn't care because it made sense to me. And now people that I know from that time, that was the 2000s, told me what people said. And they now say, wow, you were so ahead of the curve. But for me, I couldn't stay doing things that were just not in alignment with my soul. And it doesn't matter. If it makes sense to you, then it makes sense to you. Go do it. And you'll figure it out along the way, because the call came in. The call came to you. And you don't need courage and bravery to do it. Because when the call comes, there is no bravery. You just take the call and you say, okay. And then that connection guides you. To others, it looks brave and looks courageous. But to you doing it, it's just following the orders from the universe. It's just following your higher calling. It's just following something that you know is true. It's like you're falling in love with life. So all you really need to do is work on your connection. Not make it wider and more expansive, just even deepening it so that you have a greater bandwidth. Now start with your meditation practice. Not to have some fanciful roller coaster ride like you're on Facilian, or you've dropped some nootropics, but to sit in silence and get deep within yourself and allow yourself that depth that can sometimes be a little scary. But that's you getting roots. And you are rooting into your routine and your practice. And with a good root system, you connect through the consciousness to others who are in that deep root system. Kind of like fungi that all talk to each other like a membrane, or trees that talk to one another underneath your feet. You can also talk to people who are in that deep place in the consciousness that you are wanting to meet or wanting to do things with, or but you have to get deep into yourself. So I hope that helps, because spring is going to be really fast and really magical. I know magic. He's looking at me, he's beaming his magic eyes at me. Come on up. And stay away from the fear mongering, especially to yourself. And also fear mongering can be disguised as care, right? Oh, I just care about you. But you know what? If I were you, I wouldn't do that. But you're not me. If I were you, I would be like kind of hesitant. If I were you, right? It's all very subtle. If I were you. Well, you're not me. Right? That's their fear imposed on you. But we fall for it very quickly. And that's why you have to keep your channel clear of others' projections. Yes, magic like that one. Come on up there. You. Oh, you. So yes, this is approved by magic. Have a fantastic spring. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. And if you're coming to the session. And yeah, stay out of the fear-mongering of others and yourself. And I look forward to seeing you all. This is the last night of winter. I know, the last. Until December 21st, 2025. Take that in. I feel as if this year's went very, even though we're in March, It feels like we've had a really good presence in each month. Because sometimes January and February can, and you're like, what happened? What did I get done? So really, like March, what do I want to learn? What do I want to put my energy into for the spring and plant in my consciousness? Instead of other people planting in your garden, maybe you decide what you want your garden of consciousness to look like. Good to see you all. And yeah, I'll see you soon.